Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Kate with Beautiful Light Home. I am a Waldorf homeschooling mom to 2 kiddos, and my oldest, my son, he is currently 6, but by the time we reach the new school year next year, he'll be 7, so he'll be starting true Waldorf academics in 1st grade next year. And this video is the 3rd in my series, 4th if you consider the one where I discuss why I chose to write my own curriculum, but I did. I'm choosing to write my own curriculum for our 1st grade homeschool adventures next year. And this video is all about our first main lesson block. And I've decided our first main lesson block is going to be form drawing. So form drawing is a unique lesson it's unique to Waldorf education. I haven't really found it in any other style of education out there. So I'm going to get into more details about what it is and why we do it. But form drawing is standard in Waldorf education, all the way from 1st grade all the way up through 8th grade, and even in high school there's variations of it. So it's a topic that stays throughout the entire schooling. Normally, form drawing will be a once-a-week activity, but for 1st grade, I am introducing it as our very first main lesson. It's going to be a 3-week main lesson block, and I'm going to be doing 4 days a week. So essentially, it'll be 12 lessons that we'll be doing in form drawing. And then once we get through that main lesson block, we'll have form drawing once a week in our schedule. Just like we'll have handwork once a week, we'll have watercolor painting once a week, and we'll also have this form drawing. So in traditional Waldorf 1st grades, I see it throughout most curriculums and different things I read. Most of them start the year with a form drawing main lesson. And then just like I'm doing, they'll introduce it on a weekly basis once that main lesson block has been taken care of. But then I do see I see it a lot in Waldorf classrooms, I think more than Waldorf homeschools, where they don't do it as a main lesson block and they only do it as a once a week activity. And the reason I've heard for that before is sometimes, especially in that school setting, kids are chomping at the bit to really start real academics, to start the reading, the writing, the math and arithmetic. So they jump into that first and then just do the form drawing on a weekly basis. The reason I'm choosing to do it as a main lesson block and then do it as a weekly assignment for us is because this is going to be my son's first main lesson ever. I mean, right now his schooling consists of circle time, we do handwork, we do story time. It's like very light and easy breezy. He hasn't had to like sit down for real lessons yet. So I feel like form drawing is just such a nice, gentle way to get him to ease into the structure of a main lesson. So that's why I'm choosing to do this for our first lesson here. So the next thing I want to show you are the resources that I'm using to create this block. And actually, there's only 2 that you really need, or at least that I'm using. The first, as always, is the tasks and content of the Steiner Waldorf curriculum. I've shown this in several other videos before, but they do have a whole section in here right on form drawing. It's under art studies. And it tells you exactly what, it gives you a good understanding of what form drawing is. So they talk about that, and then they tell you what the expectations are for a 1st grader. So that's the first place I start, is just to get like a high level overview. So then the next book is really, so far, I've looked at a couple different books, but I really love this book the most. It's called Creative Form Drawing with Children Aged 6 to 10 years old, and it's workbook 1. They have several different ones of these. I think once they get to like 11 years old, it's a new book. But this book is going to last me several years, which is amazing, fantastic. It's one of the reasons why I love creating my own curriculum, is that most of these books will last me several years. So this book is great because it does give a high-level overview of form drawing. Actually, it goes into even more detail. It tells you what to do with your lessons and how to structure them. And then to me, the most important thing is that they actually have enough lessons right in here, and it shows you what to do for each lesson. And it has, like I said, I broke it out so that there's 12 lessons in that main lesson block. And then once a week up until, let's see, I have like an extra 10 weeks worth of activities in here. And then we could expand on that as we go. So those are the two resources. Again, tasks and content, and my creative form drawing book here. And this is by Angela Lord, just in case you're wondering. So what is form drawing? Let's get back to that. So form drawing is not, well, actually, I have it written right here. It's not an actual picture representation. So we're not looking to do sketching lessons. We're not looking to talk about contour, shading, any of that. This is simply taking a look, and the whole purpose is it's focused on an experience of quality of movement. I got that from that big yellow book, an experience of a quality of movement. So what form drawing does is it takes the basics of drawing, which is drawing a straight line and drawing a curved line, and creating patterns and rhythm out of that. So I find this is important for two reasons. One, drawing is important in a Waldorf classroom. Art is important in a Waldorf classroom. Art connects that soul piece. If Waldorf really looks to engage the mind, the body, and the soul into all of their lessons, drawing can help engage that soul aspect. So much so that, and I love this analogy. There was such a, I can't even remember where I had heard it before. It might be a Steiner quote, but somebody said, if you went for a trip someplace, let's say you go to Paris and you just walk the streets, right? You have one kind of an experience. If you walk the streets and then sit down and journal them and write them, you have a different kind of experience. But if you journal them and start to draw what you're seeing, you have a completely different kind of experience. You start to see the minutia of things, and you can connect with it on a much more soulful level. So because of this, Waldorf classrooms do not have textbooks. Instead, the children, and this is all in, like, I talked about this several times before, but especially in my main lesson video, the children create their own textbooks. So every day the children are required to draw a picture and write a narrative based on the information that they had learned yesterday, the previous day. And every year, and as they progress, these get a little bit more complex. But you find that as you do this, the children not only commit it to their mind and they're physically doing it with their body, but then it's learned on a much more soulful level. In fact, I had heard, I believe it was in the Waldorf podcast, there was a high school teacher, a Waldorf high school teacher, who at an open house for their students, they had main lesson books out, and the children were learning about the kidneys, like kidneys in your body. And this gentleman came over who had a student in the school, and he came over and he said, these children who are drawing these kidneys have such an amazing understanding of the functionality of the kidneys. He said that he was not only was he a kidney doctor, but he also taught at medical school to people who wanted to be kidney doctors as well. And he said that the children in this Waldorf school understood the functionality of the kidneys on a deeper level than some of his own students. And it's because that drawing process is so key to committing it into your soul. So I look at form drawing as the beginning of not only learning how to draw on a basic form level. There's a ton of other skills that I'll tell you about that are involved as well. But for me, it takes the act of that physical dead picture on a page and helps bring it from the mind to the body into the soul. And I'm going to tell you how it does that. So in this book, the Creative Form Drawing book, they tell you how to lay out your lessons. And they say that there are 4 stages to every form drawing lesson. And again, at the very beginning in first grade, like our first lesson is all about drawing straight lines in different patterns. And they said the very first item that you do is the teacher draws the form on the chalkboard, and the children watch the teacher do that. So in doing so, they're engaging their brain, their mind, right? The next stage is that the children then physically make the form with their full body, large full body movements. What that means is the children get up and they are walking out whatever that form is. They can walk it out, they can hop it out, they can skip it out, but they are engaging their body. It's going from the mind into their full body so they can feel this. And think about what's involved in that. There's spatial awareness involved in that. Think about the fact that it's also the imagination. The children have to remember where they just created these lines so that this way they can complete the pattern. And sometimes the patterns can get to be complex, like this is going to be later on, but they get to be a little bit more complex. So that's the second thing, is that they take it from the mind to the body. The third stage is that they start to bring it closer into their soul, but it's still part of their physical body. And they start to do the pattern singularly, not with their whole body, but with parts of their body. So they might do the pattern with their nose over and over and over again. So drawing it in the air. They might do it with one hand and then the other hand and then both hands. They might draw it in the air with their finger. So again, taking it from the mind, watching it on the board, to bringing it to their whole body, and then tightening it in. And then the final piece, which I think really brings it into the soul through that process. I don't think you could skip from A to B. I think you have to move it through in this process, is to then draw the pattern in their book. So the children are engaging their mind, their body, and then their soul. So this is, in addition to this, not only are they gaining spatial awareness, they're learning different movements, like up, and how to talk about different movements, upwards, backwards, front, back, left, right, forward, all of those different directional type of instructions. They're learning all of that. But form drawing is also seen to be the catalyst and building a great foundation from moving from form drawing to then learning about writing, and then capturing that over to reading. So it's kind of this whole process of moving from one to the other. So that is what we're going to be doing. We will be doing form drawing for our very first main lesson. Like I said, it'll be 3 weeks, 4 days each week. And then at the end, after that form drawing, we'll move to other main lessons and we'll do form drawing once a week from there on out. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Hopefully I'm doing form drawings justice, but once we do get into our first main lesson in the fall, I will be posting more about it and how it's going. So I hope that was helpful for you. And like I said, the beautiful thing about this book, and that's why it's one of the reasons why I loved starting with it, is that it already has lessons prepared for me in here. Every single lesson tells me what to do, how to do it, and then we can go from there. So yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to either leave a comment here, or you can come find me over on my Instagram page at Beautiful Light Home. And I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks. Bye.